Hi, my name is Rainer, and this is Rainierbooks. Today it's Wednesday, and it's an incredibly rainy day today here in Stockholm. The State Meteorological Institute (SMHI) has warned for heavy rain here in Stockholm today and tomorrow. We don't get any floods or some kinds of, but we get a lot of water today and tomorrow. It's really nasty to look outside, and it's good and cozy to sit here in this armchair and to talk to you. So today I want to do a tag. I saw this tag at Brian from Bookish on Saturday in his Saturday Hodgepodge. It's about the buying book history tag. It's got only 2 questions, and this tag is originating from Wiebke, and I put a link down to her channel below, and I put a link to Brian's channel down below. So let's get started. So the first question is, where do I get my books, and where did I get my books? Because this is a sort of buyer's history question. And well, back in the days when I was a kid, I discovered books when I was, I don't know how old I was. I remember my parents didn't read so much. They are part of a generation that was very much influenced by the Second World War. My mom was 12 years old when the war ended, and Germany was in all ruins, and it was very difficult for young people at the time, for children and juveniles to get themselves a good education. So she had to work very early in her lives. She didn't have a reading biography, and so I got to reading more because they wanted to, and especially my mother wanted to get a good life for us. So she understood that reading was very important, so she always tried to sort of support us reading books. And I remember one of the first books that I really was fascinated by was a book called, in German, Da liegt Gold, by a Polish author called Janusz Piekalkiewicz. I don't know if I can find a cover of that book here to show you, but this was a book about treasures and about treasures, hidden treasures in all parts of the world. There are treasures still to be found, treasures that only exist as a rumor, but some treasures are really existing. And why do I tell you that? Because I remember we got this book from a bookshop that was a bookshop where you could get cheap editions, and that was one of the first books actually that was bought for me. And I think we got it from a bookshop in Mönchengladbach, where I grew up, that was sort of specialized on selling cheap books. Then a little bit later on, I got a card for the library in Mönchengladbach-Odenkirchen, and one of the first books I borrowed was Dirty Story by Eric Ambler. I was like 13 years old. I wanted to read a dirty story. And this was a great book, which I recently actually read last year for the second time, by one of my favorite authors, Eric Ambler. I made a video about him, which I could link up there for you to see it for the first time or see it again. So I got books from the libraries a lot, from the sort of town library in Mönchengladbach, in Odenkirchen when I grew up. And then later, I was very often going with my father to the city library in Mönchengladbach, and we used to borrow books there together. And when I went to college, then later on, I sort of became a customer of the university library, which wasn't it's actually not a university where I went, but it's called, it's a college. It's called Rheinisch-Westfälisch Technische Hochschule in Aachen. It's one of the greatest technical colleges in the whole world, and one of the best probably. But I studied humanities there, and humanities is big there, but by far not the biggest faculty. So it's not a university, but it's a college, a very famous college where I studied. And I went to this university library and got hundreds of books there over the years. And I left a lot of money there, that I can tell you, because they have fines they had fines when you are late, and when you have, like, when I wrote my MA thesis, it could happen, not often, but it happened, that I was late with books, and I had maybe 14, 15 books, and I was late, and I had to pay like 28 or 30 German marks at the time, which is like half of that in euros today. So I left a lot of money at the university library. And the books that I bought for my studies, I bought at a bookshop, the Augustinos Buchhandlung in Aachen, which probably, I don't know if they still exist. I've tried to find a picture of them as well and to show it to you. Then later on, I went to Russia. I was living in Russia for 6 months. One of the reasons why I started the Post-Soviet Book Club, probably. I lived in Finland for 1.5 years, and then I came to Sweden. And let's talk about the current situation. No, let's talk about how I started buying English language books. The first English language books I bought at Amazon. It was very convenient. Amazon Co. UK in the United Kingdom. They were very cheap because you don't have Buchpreisbindung in the English-speaking countries, and Amazon sold the books cheapest. And also the postage was kind of cheap as well compared to other bookshops. But then I learned more and more about Amazon, about independent bookstores, and I started buying used books. In the UK, I found a provider who sold very nice used books in the UK. And for a couple of years, or 2 years or so, I bought a lot of used books in England from different British bookshops, small ones and big ones. But then, unfortunately, the British decided to leave the European Union and said, bye-bye, European Union. And from that day on, we have to pay customs. We have to pay an extra fee when we buy books from England. And it's not funny, actually, to buy a used book in the UK for, let's say, £1, £1 British, and then you pay £2 in administration fee for the Swedish customs, and you pay another pound taxes. So the book that costs £1 as a used book costs you £4 in the end. And that is not so funny. So I stopped buying used books, which I think is a pity, because buying used books actually is a very sustainable thing, because a book has more than one reader. And this is very good for the environment, right? So that's really a pity. I'm not able to buy books in the UK anymore, even new books, no more new books. The university bookshop in Oxford, where I bought books, new books from the UK and from the United States via that Oxford bookshop, but now it's not possible anymore because it's way too expensive with all the administration fees and all the taxes. So I think that the UK is losing a lot of money with products that they could sell within the European Union, as long as we didn't have the problems of taxes and custom fees. So today I buy my books in Sweden from a Swedish bookseller that is importing them from the UK. I actually ordered 3 books today, the first books that I ordered since I am living in this new apartment here. And they have okay prices, and I have a suspicion that they might buy from Amazon and resell them to me, but I don't know. And I'm not going to spend a lot of energy to find out, actually. So that is how I buy my books, and I hope that after the pandemic, when we are able to travel again, that I will be able to travel to English-speaking countries and buy used books again, and even buy new books in the bookshops, because that's the most beautiful thing to buy in a bookshop. Powell's in Portland is one of my favorite places in the world, probably. Although it's I think probably one of the richest bookshops in the U.S. It's not a chain, but it's the biggest independent bookshop in the world, I have heard. I was there for a couple of times, and always I lose a lot of dollars when I visit Portland and Powell's. Right. So the second question, and my God, this is a long video for 2 questions, right? Second question is, where do you get information about the books that you are going to buy or borrow or whatever? And I forgot the City Library of Stockholm that gives me a lot of pleasure in lending a lot of books from the City Library. I have the books that I'm reading for the BookTube Prize, Susanna Clarke's Peirene, Emma Donohue's The Pull of the Stars, Real Life by Brandon Taylor, The Glass House, the Glass Hotel by Emily St. John Mandel, and even Lily King's lovers and writers and lovers. I all got them from the library, and I could have gotten Shuggie Bain as well, but Shuggie has a waiting list with 63 persons, so I decided to buy Shuggie Bain, which is good to have, I think. A good winner of the Booker Prize. So the library is another very important place to get books from, and I order them now during the pandemic on the internet and let them deliver the books from wherever they are in the system of the city library here in Stockholm to the nearest library where I live. So that is that. And the second question was, where do you get information about the books that you are consuming and reading? I get the information about these books from BookTube, of course, from you guys out there, from you folks out there. And what you are reading, I take notes, and I also get a lot of information from the New York Times, the Guardian, the Atlantic, the New Yorker. That's where I'm looking for books mostly, and I get enough of new books so that I barely can read them from these sources already. So, but BookTube, I think BookTube is the most important source nowadays for me. The books that you are reading and that you are discussing here. So that was the tag already, the buying book and or getting information book tag by Wiebke that I got from Brian at Bookish. I stole it there because he didn't tag me, but I made the video anyway. So feel yourself tagged if you haven't done that right now, because I think it's a very interesting question, especially if you are from a different country than the UK, Australia, Canada. Well, if you're not from an English-speaking country, how do you get your books in South America, in Asia, in Africa? And how did you get information about them? Maybe you have different sources. Maybe you have different histories. Please tell them to me down below or in a video that you make. Thank you very much for watching this, and I hope to see you again on Sunday, and hope that the rain stops and we have a good week. Mask up, be safe, and see you. Bye-bye.